correct direction in terms of climate change. Uh, we, in fact, are the, if you look at the world, 39% of the whole world's electricity is generated using coal, zero in Pakistan. In fact, if you look into our neighborhood in India, our neighbor, more than 50, nearly 54% of electricity in India is generated using coal. 70% of electricity in China is generated using coal, zero in Pakistan. So climate change is not the issue. The other the other point that you asked me was
The other point we asked about is apart from climate change, we were talking about the future of how uh, much oil.
do we need?
How much do you need?
Yes.
Yes.
At this point, if we are able to make our plans succeed as far as the LNG and natural gas is concerned, that is nearly 3,500 million cubic feet of gas every day, and 3,500. So that gas, plus our own incentivization of exploration, and if we are able to achieve the targets in hydroelectricity, in third coal gasification and shale gas, our import needs would probably be something like 1/4 of a million barrels of oil per day, and natural gas is about 3,500 million cubic feet, which would be already contracted through pipelines and through the LNG. We don't think that we would need to, but there is a strong hope that as coal gasification picks up, as wind power picks up, as hydroelectricity picks up, our importation of oil will keep coming down, because we also don't need oil for all the transportation needs. So I think the government's target ought to be, for economic reason, to minimize the import of oil and diversify our natural gas, whether it's the transportation sector or whether it's the power sector or it is any other household use or something. So with that plan, we can certainly give a strength to our economy if we cut down the importation of oil to the barest minimum.
Now, how important is this general elections that's going to come up in a few months' time? And also, how does this affect the relationship with the Middle East as well? How does Pakistan view the Middle East situation today?
The relations between Pakistan and Middle East have remained very trustworthy and cordial over a long period of time. And on the principal issue that Middle East has been facing, Pakistan has been quite sympathetic to them. Particularly, for example, we would be favoring the Palestinians get due recognition and there be a coexistence between Palestine and Israel. So we are for that thing. That's as far as the general elections are concerned. We've been in this war for last 11 years. We have borne the brunt of this war in terms of losses to life, to property, to infrastructure, to peace. These are colossal losses, losses to economy. In fact, the minimum losses in terms of tangible damage is $10 billion a year. That takes it now to $120 billion of losses in tangible sense. But the moment you bring in the intangible, the security issues, the governance issues, the lost opportunity issues, the lost investment issues, then these losses are even higher. So when a poor country like Pakistan is suffering, is bleeding these heavy losses every year, we feel that this war ought to now, it's not going to conclude in the objectives achieved. Unfortunately, this war will conclude leaving the reality as it was when it started. So we are looking forward to the conclusion of this war so that our losses stop and we can improve the governance and security environment in the country and start concentrating on economy. Now, during the last 5 years tenure of this government, the government had been riddled with the issues relating to the war and issues of energy, because the last military government was not able to um, generate projects to support the need of energy. So the right now the burning issues in the country are that, look, our economy is hurting because of the lack of energy supply. And second, that we need to improve the governance by bringing this war also. Pakistan should get out of this war. So these two issues have now become election issues. And general elections, we, after the military government's stint, we returned to democracy, and our future is in democracy. And it's very fortunate. This is first time a democratic government has completed its tenure, and the elections will be held after the tenure. Otherwise, before that, the elections were interrupted in midterms, etc. So this has now given assurance to the political um, framework in the country that the next government would also complete its due 5 years, and they are going to fight this election and win the election by committing to the nation serious programs both in the energy sector and in the governance sector um, by taking a strong position in the war. So we feel that these general elections are extremely important for our immediate crisis management.
Now, speaking about the energy, we've got to touch on the issue of water. Now, how is the supply of water over in Pakistan has been like, and because water is a very important resource.
Yes.
And what kind of cooperation do you see between India and Pakistan? Because I know that India has a very good relationship with Pakistan, and has India come to conclusion to supply water to Pakistan
Okay,
needs?
okay. This, I'm so glad that you talked about water. Um, Actually, water is a crucial issue. It actually is not only the one of the major economic imperative, also of course a social imperative. Um, we have our largest province in the country is called province of Punjab, which has 57 million, 57% of the total population. And this also has the largest economy. Why was it named Punjab? It is named five waters, five rivers. So this was a land of irrigation. And after partition, when Pakistan and India became independent, there was a dispute on sharing of these waters. These rivers were only originating from mountains, which was in Indian hand. But all the downstream low riparians throughout the length of these rivers existed in Pakistan. And according to international conventions, low riparians have a very strong right on the water. For example, if I give you an example, River Nile, one of the largest rivers in Africa, runs from Sudan to Egypt and then falls into the sea there. And Sudan cannot do anything on River Nile upstream of Egypt without actual a unanimous agreement of Egypt. That is how protected. In our case, because of this contention, how would the waters be divided? Um, to my mind, since 90% of the low riparians on these rivers were in Pakistan, therefore the water sharing should have been according to the percentage of low riparians population. But then the World Bank was mediator. In 1961, we achieved a treaty called Indus Water Treaty. And according to that treaty, the water of three of those five rivers went to India, and two of them. But they, of late, last 5 to 10 years, they've been doing infringement on Indus Water Treaty, and they've been damming, headworking on the those rivers which come to Pakistan, and that we think is outside the both the latent spirit of those treaties, and that has been a bone of contention, and Pakistan has been threatening to go to international courts of arbitration on that. So there are issues of sharing of water in Pakistan. The second thing about water is that we, because of the increase in population, and also the effect of droughts, consistent droughts, whether it's effect of climate change and others, there is a greater water scarcity, and Pakistan's per capita use of water is now coming down to the threshold of water famine. So we need to have more water resource. And our aquifers, underground aquifers, they are being drawn down, and the water level is going beyond now pumping economics. So that is a very serious issue, and our challenge is that we should try to create more storages of water, because during the monsoon season, those 2 months, there is a lot of water runoff to the sea, and if we increase the storage to improve the supply of water. So we do hope that our understanding would continue to be developed within India, and there would be fair sharing of water by respecting the latent spirit of the Indus Water Treaty. And we also are having major cooperation with China, who have been able to do a lot of water dams and hydroelectricity projects, and some Chinese companies are working in Pakistan on those projects. So we are trying to now achieve some kind of plan for building one mega dam, which currently is under advanced stage of planning and execution, and that would have 6 million acre feet of water storage. Out of that, 4.5 million acres would be to cover the loss of storage in our other mega dams because of silting, and that will give us 1.5 million cubic feet additional storage. That project, if it takes off, will give us some relief in water, and then once that mega project is completed, then we would have to go to the. So these are, you were able to put your finger on something which is extremely critical for Pakistan, is to increase the storage of water. And once you increase the storage of water, then hydroelectricity generation is a byproduct. So on this dam, there would be 4,500 megawatt of hydroelectricity if we are able to complete this dam. It's called, this is dam up north, and we hope that it gets off from the drawing boards and start construction.
Well, Dr. Gauras, Ahmad, thank you for sharing us your perspective on oil and gas and also the resource security like water on our show. And thank you once again for joining me here
Thank
at the
you.
National Critics' Choice, the Stienberg Review. And please do look out for more information with the Pakistan's Tourism Board, or even their nearest embassy. If you visit Pakistan, do remember water is important. Once again,
Yes.
I'm Robin Steinberg. Have a good week ahead.